How do I make deep, real friendships during recovery?
Welcome to the Therapy Brothers podcast.
I'm Brannon.
I'm Tyler.
We're brothers,
We're therapists.
and we know recovery.
Bring your stories, your questions, your successes with real recovery.
Hey, Tyler, you ready to have some hard conversations?
Let's do it.
Let the Therapy Brothers podcast begin.
Brannon, what's going on, man?
Not much. Just getting ready for Christmas, you know.
Getting down to crunch time now.
Yeah, I know. I feel behind the 8 ball.
But we're about 2 weeks before Christmas at the time of this recording.
Yeah. My wife's birthday is 6 days before Christmas.
Oh man.
So it's like this double whammy. And it's this thing where like her birthday needs to be a big deal because, it's always been minimized by Christmas. And so like I can't go light on the birthday, but then we got Christmas right behind it. So yeah.
I know that's hard. That's tough. My daughter Paisley, her birthday was yesterday, and she's a few weeks away from Christmas, but she's still like, we're singing happy birthday with all the Christmas lights in the background. It kind of gets overshadowed, it's a tough time.
You got to wrap things in like not red and green. Like this bright yellow gift is your gift. Here you go. Yeah. So anyways, so things are good. Yeah. Things good with you, Tyler?
Great, man. Yep. Life is good. It's sweet. We having a little bit of a hard time. This is the trick for me with Christmas. The one place where I always struggle is trying to figure out the best, most meaningful gift for my wife. And what I've learned over the years is that the closer to Christmas it gets, it's the timing to Christmas that's the issue. So if I were to have thought of something before like the month of December, and I let her know that I thought of something and I already purchased it, it doesn't even matter what I get. She loves it. If I get the exact same thing like 2 days before Christmas, but she knows that I waited until 2 days before Christmas, then she doesn't like it because she doesn't feel cared about.
You know what? You need to be like a year ahead. Like you need to be buying her 2024 Christmas gift right now.
Yeah, exactly. And then letting her know, even though I don't tell her what I got her, I just need to let her know that I was thinking about her.
I thought about this and I got this done.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
Yes.
Yeah. So,
well, awesome. All right. We have an awesome guest today. Shalisa, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Shalisa, if you could just tell us what's going on, kind of where you're at, give us a little bit of context, and we'll go from there.
Okay. Kind of typical story. Husband and I both grew up LDS, Utah, all those things. He served a mission, came home, we dated, got married in the temple, yada, 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 right? We've been married 20 years. We have 3 kids. Our daughter's 16, son 14, daughter 11. So about 15 years into our marriage was D-Day. I had no idea. Just shattered my world. We went through a lot. This was 2018. Did I say that?
Mm-hmm.
No. So it's been a while, and we're still going through things, obviously, like people do. But I feel like some things aren't talked about a lot. Like with us, we hit some. So our therapist, which is amazing, I want to name drop Candy Hamilton. She's rock star.
She is incredible, and she's incredibly difficult to get in with as well.
Yes.
So just so you know,
That's fine. So we're only seeing her like a couple times a year at this point, but just because she's amazing, we just love that connection. Anyway, what was I saying? So one of her analogies she came up with was like a boat. We're on a boat and we're going along. I'm driving most of the time. My husband's, in the back, sometimes sleeping. Got the kids. I'm taking care of stuff. Sometimes he jumps up and rocks the boat. But that's going through some storms. We went through some storms. Like a lot of it is, one of our biggest one was finances. Another one was intimacy. And like a big one is parenting. Like how to come together on all of those things. So we're like obviously we're going through life and things come up, but they're not as big. The storms aren't as big, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So now what I'm dealing with is that, like, friendships around me, like, we name them like surface friendships, medium friendships, and like deep connection. And you can find surface friendships all day long, not an issue. Medium, yeah, you can find them. Deep is where I'm struggling the most.
So do you feel like there's something lacking with your support system?
Yeah. And I should have said my husband is my best friend. Like, I hope this is helpful for some people who are just starting in their recovery journey or what. There is hope. And if he chooses it every day and I choose every day, it can be really good. And I'm so grateful for the knowledge that I have. My eyes are open. Your Eden concept, I loved that. Like, I am so glad I'm not there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So Shalisa, really quickly, I'm glad you're on the show here today. Finding and developing deep connections, is there been a difference in your ability to do that before recovery work versus where you're at now in recovery work, or has that just always just generally been a struggle?
No, absolutely not. It's hugely different after I've been through therapy and recovery. And like, I can notice people who aren't capable, is that the right word, of getting there yet? I don't know if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Is it more of a struggle now or less?
Now.
No. Okay.
I didn't notice it before.
Do you feel like you're trying to put yourself out there, have deeper connections, and that there's some level of maybe it's rejection, maybe it's just people not understanding and being able to connect with you? What do you think is happening?
So I do put myself, I feel like I do. I am also like very introvert, so it's hard for me. But I connect. I reach out to a couple women every day through text mostly. But it's not reciprocated.
It's like you're putting forth the effort, but it's not given back.
Yeah.
No. Okay.
So I don't know if I need to venture out different circles or something.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of interesting because I'm hearing a little bit that you also maybe this is the curse of the recovery process too, is that you're more aware of certain principles that you weren't aware of before. You're more aware of the idea of what it actually means to be vulnerable or to actually have deeper intimacy, or maybe before recovery, when you weren't forced into this kind of world, you could have said you had 10 best friends. And now you realize that most of those best friends would probably fit in maybe more of a level 2 or 3, sort of like I look at it like a funnel with different layers, and there's like the inner circle, which is where you need just 2 or 3 people that are always there, that you're cultivating in and out, that are like your inner circle. And then there's your really good friends, and then there's some good friends, and then there's your acquaintances, and then there's the clerk at Walmart, like, and for many of us, before we're kind of thrust into this place of understanding the principles of vulnerability and empathy and all those things that come with recovery work, we think all of our best friends are inner circle people, when in reality, we didn't even realize we never had an inner circle. And so now we're in the business of trying to develop that inner circle, and there seems to be a gap or a deficit sometimes. It sounds like that's kind of what you're running into a little bit.
Yes, absolutely.
I think we need to, Tyler, we need to come back to what you're talking about when we talk about inner circle and like what deep like friendship actually means. But before we do that, I want to kind of do what we almost always do on our episode, Shalisa. So get ready, brace yourself. Before we go to this place of why is the world doing this to me? I think we want to start with, how am I creating this in my life? It takes some accountability to look at this and say, okay, what about I? Is it I? I was listening to an episode, one of our episodes recently, and Tyler was talking about getting out of drama, and he said one of the first steps is to look at, is it I? What do I do to create this? I'm going to sound kind of arrogant here, and I don't want to. But like I have a problem, Shalisa, where too many people want to go to lunch with me. Like they want to talk to me, they want to talk about their deepest problems, they want to like, and I used to go too much, and I'd like get tired of connecting to people, to be honest with you. I was sick of it. And I was,
no one's going to call you anymore, Brannon.
thank goodness. But the reality was I was a bit too open, and I wasn't in balance in terms of, I had too many people connecting, and I was becoming resentful of too much, and I was spreading myself too thin. And so I had to look at that and say, how am I creating that in my life? I need to have some boundaries with people. I actually need to, like, in some ways, I don't want to reject people, but I need to kind of break their heart a little and say, I can't, I'm sorry. I need to devote my time and energy elsewhere. But my point is I created that, right? So Shalisa, back to you. As you self-reflect, as you look at this, how are you creating this dynamic in your life where you're not creating deep friendship? What do you think?
Well, first of all, you're a safe person. That's why so many people want that.
Thanks,
I feel
Shalisa.
like I am, but I don't know how to get the women around me to open up, to be a safe person, I guess.
Okay. So you feel like you're a safe person. I got to say, your energy just initially talking to you feels very safe to talk to you. You feel approachable, right? But that safety might be breaking down in other ways that you're creating with them. I don't know what it is. We're going to have to explore this a little bit, right?
Okay.
So if you kind of look at it further of like, okay, I start relationships with people. We start texting. Like, do you bombard them? Is it too much and then they retreat? What do you think?
It's a good question. I don't think so, but
Okay. What else could it be? Anything else?
I don't know. I'm just talking through this. So, like in my
Mhm.
circle of women, there are a few that I've found, like I kind of pick up on things of people who go through the same thing that I have. And yet I can tell, like, maybe it's like I can't find anyone ahead of my game.
Mm.
I need someone who can help, like, be more of a help to me, maybe, instead of me helping all the time.
So you're looking for a very specific type of connection.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's not just friendship that you're looking for. You're looking for some mentorship and some guidance. Is that accurate?
Maybe not even necessarily that. I'm going to compare it more to like a sister.
Okay. Like an older or a younger sister?
Older.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like. Okay.
Older because why? I just want you to say this out loud so that Brannon can hear it. Since I'm the older brother.
Because I want that. I need that.
I don't need that. But yeah, so okay, so just talk through, what do you want? What do you need? Like, say more.
I want someone who's interested in me, like checks on me, someone that
Okay.
we can do things with, go on weekend trips with. Yeah.
Okay. I think it's really good for you to get clear about what you're really looking for. right? Because if you go to a recovery group and there's some women there that don't have that kind of older sister energy, they're kind of younger sister energy or whatever, that's great. There's nothing wrong with that. But you're probably not going to be able to turn them into what you're actually looking for, right? In hopes, oh, well, they're in my group, so I have their phone number, so hopefully they just turn into that. Well, maybe they don't have the capacity or the wisdom or the whatever that you're actually craving, right?
I've been through groups, done that,
Yeah. And you haven't totally found it, right? Yeah.
I wonder, you mentioned something that might be part of this. Let's just go there for a second here. The things that you wanted, someone who takes interest in me, someone who checks on me, someone who we can have like shared experiences or even maybe adventures together with. That's kind of what I heard you saying.
Yeah.
Before you said that, you kind of said that you've met a lot of women, especially you tend to be kind of like gravitated towards other women who are going through similar things as you, which is normal. I think that's really normal. You tend to be one that falls into the helper role a lot. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. And as you were talking, I was thinking about something Brene Brown said about relationships that that it's one thing to offer yourself to a relationship, but if it's a one-way relationship and you're always offering but never actually receiving, you actually damage the relationship because then people feel like they're more indebted to you rather than appear with you. And they'll almost actually push away from you, even though you're the one being kind to them. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And I wonder if you're finding yourself where you're kind of in those kinds of relationships where some of the women that you serve, excuse me, they might actually be the right kinds of women to connect with, but it would maybe be work on your part to actually receive whatever they could give back right now. What do you think about that?
I'm just thinking about some of the women. You're spot on, because actually I do have a relationship where, thanks to Kendi, she helped me realize that, yeah, I am doing 98% of the work and she's just taking it in. And so that's one of the relationship that I had to pretty much, like, it almost felt more comfortable for me to like end it, which I don't know if that's the right thing to do or not. But.
Yeah, I don't know either, but but
Right?
but recognizing that pattern is there, it's like, okay, I'm cultivating this relationship, and then ask yourself, is it a general pattern? Do I tend to do 98% of the work in all of my relationships, and then do people tend to not connect with me as a result? Which sounds weird because we want to be the people that give. I'm the same way. Like, I do a lot of giving. I try not to do a lot of taking, but sometimes that actually hampers my ability to connect with people.
So, but in Tyler, sometimes giving is taking. So, if I'm love bombing and I'm like, hey, I'm going to call this person because I care about them. I'm going to give them the best Christmas gift ever. Because I want them to want to be my friend. I want them to love me. I'm not selflessly like giving.
I'm not giving of myself. I'm giving to tell myself I'm good.
Yeah, and I'm actually, and that person can feel that. Like, if it's like, wow, you're calling me and you're doing all these things, like, wow, okay, it's too much. Like, too much. I want reciprocation in my friendships where they give because they love me and I give back because I love them. And they don't feel like I need them and I don't feel like I need them, but we do need each other because we're friends. And there's this kind of equilibrium there. And my friends are all different, and I get different things from different friendships. But it's not needy. It's not overwhelming. And so if it feels that way, people will retreat naturally. Michael Singer talks about in The Untethered Soul, he talks about what we create in our lives. And he says, it's interesting. The person who really doesn't want to get rejected because they have some rejection in their past, what do they usually create in their relationships?
Rejection.
Rejection. So it's like, what? That's like the thing they really, really don't want, and that's the thing they create.
Mm.
How is that?
I have a
right?
funny example of that, Brannon. We were out at some social function a while back, and there was my wife and I were out there just kind of out at some sports thing for our daughter, and somebody else came up to us and started talking to us, really friendly, really nice, someone I really, really like. And afterwards, I turned to my wife and I was like, "Hey, Rhiannon, like you weren't your normal self. Like, why were you cold? Why were you not like?" And she said, and she just picked up on this energy wise. She said, "That person wants me to like them so bad that I kind of don't want to like them."
I can just see Rhiannon. Just
Yeah, and I was like, actually, Rhiannon's kind of bringing up a point that I think is true for all of us as humans sometimes, is like when we feel that energy, it's like, someone's there, like always like, "Hey, see me, see me, see me, see me, see me." It's almost human nature to be like, "No, no, like,
let me push away.
I don't have the energy. It feels too consuming. It feels pressure, whatever that is." Um, Now, with all that said, with what I've been saying, with what Brannon's been saying, I don't even know if we're hitting a nerve that's the right nerve for you yet, Shalisa. So what are you experiencing, or what are you feeling as Brannon and I are talking?
I don't know either. I'm wondering, how do I figure that out if I am doing those kind of things, if I'm putting that kind of energy?
Shalisa, you have a good friendship and a close relationship with your husband, right? You said that,
Yes.
which is awesome.
Yes.
And that shows that you can create deep relationship, intimacy, connection, because you have that with somebody, right? You have that with your husband.
Yeah.
Do you have siblings?
I'm the baby of 5.
Baby of 5. Okay. And how big a gap between you and your closest sibling is there?
2.5 years. So there's like 7.5 years between all 5 of us.
Okay. And are you close with your siblings?
No.
No. Why?
That's a lot of bombshell. I have one brother who is not a nice person.
Okay.
I refuse to be around that.
Okay.
My sister and I, my older sister and I, we kind of broke our relationship when when D-Day came. I didn't trust anyone. Like, my trust was gone.
Mm-hmm.
And I told her everything. And then I think because I told her, like, I'm having a hard time trusting anyone, she felt very offended.
Okay. So she kind of pushed away from you?
I think both at first.
Both? Okay. So it sounds like you were pretty close with her.
Yes, I was.
Yeah. And then a vulnerable situation presented itself, D-Day and your recovery.
Yep.
And in that vulnerability, you were scared.
Mm-hmm.
And she was probably a little scared too, was vulnerable. And that led to pushing away from each other. Okay. And then you have 2 more siblings. You're not close with them, or?
No, I'm not. So 2 older brothers. One's the one that's not very nice. The one doesn't live very close to me. So he has struggled his whole life. His issues that make it really hard to connect to him.
Yeah.
And then I have my brother that's just 2.5 years older, that it's a surface relationship.
Okay. Why am I asking you about this?
Probably because I'm missing that.
Yes. I mean, my best friends are my siblings. But I'm not asking you because of that. This reflects your family of origin. It reflects your trauma. It reflects how you were taught about attachment and friendship and connection. So your relationship with your siblings is fascinating because you all grew up in a similar system. All of you had a different experience. And so it's interesting that you're saying, I want more friendship. I want deeper relationships. But what you were taught in your family of origin from your parents hasn't led to creating close connection, especially with your closest family members, right? What's coming up for you as I'm saying this?
Oh yeah, we could go on and on about my family. I grew up knowing that my mom kept things from my dad. Like it was just not good. So I'm like completely opposite of that. Like my husband, like we tell each other everything. Like we
Are your parents still married?
I don't know how. They are both the oldest of 5 kids. Like the entire relationship, not good. Yes, they are still married because, yeah, that's a whole other episode.
They're married because they don't quit, but they haven't necessarily developed a relationship that you'd want to stay in.
Oh my goodness. I remember begging them in high school, well, get divorced. Just they have a commitment and they'll stick by that.
What were the messages from family of origin, from your parents about and not just the explicit messages, but the underlying messages about relationship, about friendships that you learned and that you took on?
Yeah. Thinking back, I watched my mom. She didn't have friends. She numbed a lot. So even with my dad, there wasn't much communication, like especially not good communication. So
isolate and numb.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Still, I think that's still what she does.
Are there any other messages there, Shalisa, that just kind of jump out at you right now?
Like friendships and relationships?
Yeah, just cultivating relationships. I guess I'm wondering like the unspoken things as much as the spoken things that are sort of like what we're trying to do is tease out maybe certain patterns that are just so automatic that we're not even aware of yet. Right. So that, how does that affect a child that's being raised in that system without the child even knowing it?
Yeah, sorry. I know that with my sister, I never felt I could live up to her. She was the angel child.
So you didn't feel worthy of her?
I didn't feel worthy of my parents. I didn't feel love for my parents because I felt like she got it all, kind of thing. Like she was perfect in their eyes.
How did that lack of worthiness manifest itself in your life?
A lot of not feeling good enough in most everything.
And then that not feeling good enough would produce what kinds of behaviors or outcomes?
Here's an example. So, well, I think like to answer your question, like isolation. And
you pull away.
Yeah. Yeah. Not like this is a little example, but in Relief Society, like it took me forever to be able to voice things.
Because you didn't feel like you had anything good to say?
I kind of knew I had good things to say. I just didn't have the courage to say them.
Would it be good enough? Would it be accepted? Would it be heard? Would it be valued? Like those fears. those questions were like in the background.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Um, like if we kind of take where we're going, Shalisa, is we could have a conversation today about how people suck and like you can't make friends because they suck. Like we could have that conversation, right? But
Yes.
where this is going is for you to look at it and say, okay, like let's just assume that there's good, wonderful people to connect to out there, that that's possible. And it is hard, with middle age where we're at to make good, deep friendships, but it's absolutely possible. So for you to be able to say, okay, like I have my own life experiences as a child. I have my own shame that creates the way that I attach and connect. And I had those experiences as a child. And then 5 years ago, D-Day, a bomb was dropped on me. And I imagine it brought back a lot of the same shame and the same feelings about attachment. And did it?
Yes.
Yeah. So you've been burned. And why put yourself out there? Why trust? Why be vulnerable? And when I say be vulnerable, maybe being vulnerable sometimes isn't like is holding back and not love bombing, right? Maybe being vulnerable is just being real and being you and being authentic. Why do that when you've experienced all of these things in your life? Makes
It
sense
hurt.
why that might be a struggle. Right?
A lot of hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was something that there's a connection kind of being made from where you said you got this current relationship where you're putting 98% in. And then you said, I'm just thinking, I just want to be done with that relationship. It's like,
Mhm.
maybe that is the right thing to do. But with what you just said, it's almost like that relationship might be a good practicing ground for something in the middle rather than all or nothing. Because you said you were raised in a way that makes you feel like you want to withdraw or isolate or not speak up, or
Mhm.
maybe this relationship is the perfect practicing ground for something different, which might include vulnerability in a different way, maybe vulnerability in a boundary setting kind of a way, or
Mhm.
vulnerability in a boundary setting and waiting and seeing kind of way, rather than, well, I'm not going to devote any more time and attention here. Boom, I'm done. Right.
Well,
Yes.
and let me throw this one on too. Vulnerability in a compassionate, forgiving way. Like realizing that they suck in some ways and you're going to forgive them and love them and see their suck and still like have compassion for them. Right.
So we actually were vulnerable with them and said, hey, we are not feeling like we're being heard. Because it's more of I'm a good listener in relationships. And so I gravitate towards, I guess I gravitate towards women who talk a lot.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense. So yeah. When we told them that, hey, we're not feeling heard, it didn't change much.
They didn't hear that you're not being heard. Shocker.
So when it doesn't change much, number one, good job. So you're actually stepping into this kind of a thing right now, right?
Right. Yeah.
Now that they didn't hear you after the first discussion, what now?
It's so hard for me to want to go over there, like keep going over there. It's like, it's exhausting to listen all the time. I don't know how you guys do it. I don't know.
You don't have to necessarily go over there.
What now? I don't know.
It's like Brannon saying no to lunch sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
It's true.
Sometimes the no is a very valuable thing. And sometimes in a situation like that, if there's something that still feels worth fighting for, maybe it's not. I'm using this as an example with the assumption that maybe it's a good practicing place. Sometimes the no isn't just a no, it's a no with an invitation. So instead of like, hey, come on over and let me tell you about all my problems again, you'd say, no, I'm not going to do that. Right. Or you might say, you know what, that's not going to work for me. I'd love to go do this or that activity, but I don't want to come over and just listen to your problems right now. Right. So there's an invitation towards something that you're wanting rather than just a flat out no.
Yeah. So I noticed that right after we told them that we didn't feel heard, she was trying, and I could see that, but it didn't feel real, didn't feel authentic.
But it can't because it's new.
It's true.
It's like in recovery work all the time. You know, I get like guys coming into my groups and they're like, "Hey Tyler, I went home and I did the exact things you taught me. I said these things and I did those things." And my wife just said to me, like, "That doesn't feel real. Like that feels like you just heard that at therapy." It's like, well, what else is he supposed to do? Right? Right? Does it feel like there's a heart behind it, even though it feels mechanical and weird and wonky? Like that's something that we call the awkward application stage. And if the heart's behind it, the awkward application will eventually turn it into a skill. If the heart's not behind it, then it's just going to feel weird.
I think too, I've had like partners tell me, they come to session, they're like, yeah, my husband gave me Brannon empathy all week. Thanks. Like, thanks a lot. It didn't feel that great. And I'm like, you know what? Stop and realize he's trying. Like he's trying to do what I'm telling him. The heart's not behind it. But here's something to think about, Shalisa, is like this friend of yours that is trying, to me that shows some real friendship. So you gave her some feedback, and she tried to, in her own way, figure out how to change something. Why? Because she cares about you. Now, you don't trust her fully, and for good reason. You haven't been heard. But you also might not trust her some because of your stuff, because of your life experiences with trust, right? So then there's this uncomfortableness of like, we want connection. You might not be a totally trustworthy person, and I might not be totally willing to extend trust to create this type of friendship. And in that struggle is where trust and connection is actually built. If you stay engaged in that process, if you continue to open up and to see her struggle and to know her and be boundaried with her, and she continues to try to care, to try to listen, to try to be there for you, trust will start to get established. But in order for you to trust her, do you know what you're going to have to do? Tyler, you want to tell her?
Well, see, I know where you're going with this, Brannon.
Do you want to break the news to her?
You want to make me be the bad guy?
No, I can.
No, yeah, you're right, Brannon. Like you're going to have to practice that. You're going to have to extend that practice. You're going to have to, same thing that you see her doing. You're like, man, I'm having a hard time. It was hard enough to have this one discussion, and then it got weird, and she started doing this weird stuff. And it's like, I kind of want to just either go back to how it was, or I want to just be done. It's like, no, actually what I need to do is I need to go and acknowledge that she's trying. And
thank you for trying.
Weird, and that you appreciate the effort, and that it could be helpful this way or that way or the other way, or here's another invitation. Yeah. Right. Which is scary and hard and really messy. It's really messy. Yeah.
I want to kind of give you a scenario here, Shalisa, and this is kind of a little shift here, but I was running a women's group years ago, and there was a woman who had come in and monopolized group time. And she would also put a lot of feelers out there for people to validate her victim. So she was becoming toxic to the group. And this was a group of about 6 or 7 women. And all of the other women, except for one, responded a certain way. They shut up. They complained to each other behind the scenes.
They roll their eyes
every time she opened her mouth.
Behind their back.
Right. And I talked to several of them, and they just said, well, they wanted to be nice. They wanted to be kind to this woman who was monopolizing group time. right?
And then
And
they
then-
come to you, Brannon, and they expect you to be the one to deal with it all.
Exactly. And so what did I do, right? Hand it back to them, say, let's practice some healthy attachment here. Let's practice some connection here. Now, if you were that woman, Shalisa, what would you want?
Validation.
Okay, she wants validation, okay? But if I were that woman and I'm driving the whole group crazy and I'm toxic to the group and all of these things, I would hope someone would tell me.
Mm.
We had one woman come in a very loving, kind way, confront that and point out that it's causing issues and that we love her and care about her, but we need to change that dynamic in group. And me as a therapist, I was wanting to do it, but I didn't want to do it. I wanted the group to do it, right? And so was that loving? Was that nice of her?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so you know what happened?
Connection.
She quit group and we never saw her again.
Wait, what? No. Oh.
But it was a gift.
You know what? That woman fought for her in that moment.
Yeah.
That woman actually cared about her in that moment. And that woman opened up an invitation for real friendship in that moment.
Mm.
It seems backwards, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. That woman was vulnerable because that woman actually showed her true self in that, and she did it in a beautiful way. Like, but it still hit. It was still so hard to that other woman's shame, right? That
Yeah.
she couldn't take it, and we had to kind of give that up to God, surrender that over. Of hopefully she did learn something from this experience. We'd love to have her back, if she's willing to work on these things, right? She felt rejected. And in my opinion, the 5 women or so that weren't giving her the honest truth were the ones rejecting her.
Mm-hmm.
Does that,
Yeah.
you see that?
Yeah.
So it's tricky. In that moment, it was her, the woman who was monopolizing group time, that needed to look within to say, I need to work on myself because I do want connection. I want relationship here. And I don't want to blame her for being honest with me.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
What's interesting is that in a scenario like that, a lot of times if you talk to the woman who quit group, Brannon, she would probably be able to self-identify that she has a really hard time getting any friends to stay, but she doesn't know what's wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the minute one person actually steps in and says, "Hey, here's where I think you might be going wrong," she's like, "I'm out.
Yeah.
Like, I'm gonna
Like,
go
how-
find other people that I can just chew up.
How
and
dare you
spit out."
reject me? Yeah.
Right. When in reality, that one person finally steps in and says, "Hey, I think I see a part of why you're not getting what you want." And then they get that feedback, and it's so spot on that it hits so deep in the shame area that the person who experiences shame then does those things. And in this case, she disappeared, or she'd get defensive or something else. But
Mhm.
you know, I wonder too, and I know we're getting short on time, but I wonder if that's another thing you run into. And I don't know if you'll relate to this or not. This may be a slight, just other piece to think about that's maybe not right on where we're at. But when I got in my own recovery, I started to taste the goodness of what recovery could bring.
Mhm.
It was like, I learned these new principles about authenticity and about transparency and about empathy. And what I found is that I was actually chewing up and spitting out relationships because I was coming into it wanting it to go to a certain place so quickly that I never gave it a chance to actually develop the way that it needed to, which was through other kinds of interaction, shared experiences, allowing other people to share their thoughts and feelings. Because I was always like, "Hey, here's this principle," or "Hey, this is a recovery movie," or "This is a that," or "This is," everything was recovery oriented. So much so that people, I'm sure, like they'd see me in the halls at church, or my neighbors would see me come out of the house and they'd be like, "I got to get out of here. I don't want the recovery discussion today." You know, like if I would have just slow played it just a little bit more, I probably would have been able to actually have a few more other connections that I felt like nobody wanted to connect with me because I'm just, all I want to do is go deep now, you know? And it's like, well, maybe that's true, but I never really gave anybody else an opportunity to have a platform to stand on because I was expecting things that they weren't ready for or capable of yet either.
Mm.
I hope that makes sense too.
Yes.
Another one going along with that, Tyler. And Shalisa, I kind of feel this from you, and I wonder is when you go through something so intense as recovery, you gain a lot of wisdom. And when you gain a lot of wisdom, it's this weird thing where you almost feel like people can't connect or don't understand. Because and again, it's not in an arrogant way, but it's they just don't have the progression or the growth that you've experienced, and so they're operating on a certain level that like you're not wanting to connect with, and or you don't feel connected to there, right? Is that yeah, yeah, because you've been through the ringer, you put a lot of work in,
Yeah.
and so with that, it's this, it's meeting them where they're at. It's having compassion for them with where they're at in their progression in life. And knowing, like, with my friends, Shalisa, like I have a thing I'm dealing with in my life. And I'm thinking, I know what friend I'm going to call to talk to about this thing. Because he has a lot of wisdom in that area. And I'm grateful for him. Now, if I was dealing with something else, I might call someone else because they have different experience and different wisdom. And that's okay. And I hope I'm that way for people. I know no one's going to call me to talk about like how to fix their car, or like it's probably not going to happen. But if they discover something on their spouse's device, like I'm the first one they call, like, so yeah, just understand, like, certain friends serve you in certain ways and you can serve back in certain ways. So Shalisa, it's been good to talk to you today.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any last questions, thoughts, impressions that you'd like to speak out loud, Shalisa?
Just thank you guys for what you do. My husband and I listen all the time. He travels a little bit for work every day, and we are podcast people.
Nice. You're welcome, Shalisa. I'm glad. Thank you for listening.
Yeah. Yeah. We love having people like you who are willing to come on and share themselves the way that you do. So you and callers like you are what make this show. So thank you.
This was very hard for me.
Yeah.
You were very courageous.
Yeah.
So thank you.
You'll probably have a little bit of a vulnerability hangover.
I know. I know.
So make sure you got lots of self-care and whatever forms of connection you do have access to. So you'll be fine.
Yeah. But your willingness to come on and face that vulnerability and give of your courage has blessed other people's lives. So thank you for coming on, Shalisa. Really appreciate you. You guys, if this was helpful, share it, leave a review, and have a wonderful day. We'll see you guys.